It's been a while since we've come across an Asus tablet, but hopefully this latest one from them is going to be an attractive offering this fall. Now this one here aims to strike a balance between work and play. Hey guys, John V from PhoneArena. You're watching our video review of the Asus ZenPad S 8.0. So we really like its svelte construction and its elegant design. It blends sophistication with its hairline metallic finish, and you have this soft touch leather accent on the side here, which allows just to grasp the tablet pretty easily just because it's 6.6 millimeters thin and it's extremely lightweight at 298 grams, so you barely notice it. So it's pretty comfortable to use. You have also a pretty good 74% screen to body ratio, so the majority of the front is reserved for display, which is good. And also uses the newer USB Type-C connector for faster connection and charging. Matching its good looks, it's also pretty responsive. It's powered by a quad-core 2.3 GHz Intel Atom Z580CA processor with a generous 4 GB of RAM. And you see it in the way it just operates navigating around the interface. It's instant, it's fast, it's zippy, and also puts up some good benchmark scores as well, even on the graphics side, so it's more than equipped to handle a lot of strenuous activities. And on top of that, you also have a generous 64 GB of internal storage, and you also have micro SD expansion with it. That firepower helps to navigate around the UI. It's running the same Zen UI experience that we saw already with the Zenfone 2 earlier this year, but it's been maximized to fit the use of a tablet. And it's pretty good with its personalization because you can modify the themes, you can even adjust the transition scrolling effects, and you can even choose the type of fonts it displays. And you do have an added level of functionality if you happen to pick up the optional Z Stylus pen, which is $30, but then you get that note-like functionality as you're able to actually jot down notes, and it is pressure sensitive too. The only thing missing here with the experience is just that it's lacking when it comes to the multitasking aspect. You don't get that true side-by-side multitasking. In achieving its thin design, the biggest compromise made is in the battery life. It's just a huge disappointment. We actually get less than a day of normal usage out of it, and in our battery benchmark test, it only managed to top out at 5 hours and 41 minutes, which is exceptionally short compared to other tablets out there. Luckily, it has a pretty fast charging time of 213 minutes. We're also disappointed by the performance of its rear camera. It's an 8 megapixel one here. The UI itself is pretty much similar to the one in Zenfone 2, so you have a lot of shooting modes, but it doesn't have a manual mode there. Now the biggest problem is that it has just smudgy looking details, even when the lighting situation is ideal. Under low light, you tend to see a lot of noise, softer details, and just a very subdued looking tone. And when it comes to 1080p video recording, it's also a disappointment because first of all, it lacks continuous autofocus and you have this very odd distorted audio recording with it. So it's just a shame that the camera is just a huge disappointment everywhere. From a spec sheet, the display is good, but when you look at it, there's just this subdued tone to it, which kind of makes it not as attractive over other displays out there. So what we have here is an 8-inch 1536 by 2048 IPS display, so 2K resolution, and while it's good enough for details, the other qualities about the display indicate that it has a lower quality to it. For example, you have a 7300 Kelvin color temperature, which means that it's a colder tone display, so whites tend to be a little bit more on the bluish side. It's not 100% accurate too with its color reproduction, and we really notice that with the colors of magenta, it tends to favor a bluish tinge to it. And finally, it just has a weak brightness output of 387 nits, which makes it very challenging to use outdoors with the sun present. And overall, it just has this subdued, washed out tone that doesn't make it as appealing looking. And the last thing we'll talk about here is just the speaker performance. Now, it's nice that it features dual front-firing speakers which project audio towards us, which of course is useful for watching videos and whatnot. But the overall quality is just underpowered. It's 71.1 decibels of output, which is kind of weak. And even though it has a bunch of different DTS enhancement settings to choose from, the quality still lacks substance, so it never achieves a commanding presence. We won't deny that it offers a pretty nice package at $300. You get a good amount of value considering that you get an 8-inch 2K display. You have also 64 gigabytes of internal storage with micro SD card expansion, a pretty svelte design, and top it up, a zippy performance with the Intel Atom chip. But it just has too many weak areas to make it a compelling offering. It's very disappointing in the areas of its battery life, the camera, and also the display. So it's a toss-up. If you're on a budget, this might be a good option for you, but if you spend a little bit more, you could get something with a better overall performance.